welcome to Amethyst Star Crafting. My name is Jane Allmark and I'm a UK independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. And today we're making one of my absolute favourite ornaments. I absolutely love this ornament. Make it every year in different colours, hang it on my tree, fill it with little Ferrero Rocher or Lindt chocolates, and it's my favourite. So we need a piece. It's going to take a little while, so I'll start straight away. We need a piece of cardstock which measures 8 1/4 inches by 5 inches, and this will make a small one. So on the 8 1/4 inch side, you are going to score it at it's really simple scoring, every inch. So you're going to score it at 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches, 5 inches, 6 inches, 7 inches, and 8 inches. Then you're going to turn it onto the other side and you're going to score it at every inch. So 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch. Okay, so you've got a whole pile of little you can see little squares right the way across. Now we are going to, with the side here, on that side, we are going to burnish up or fold it up on each side like this, and we are then going to, doesn't really matter which side you do it from, but on your squares, half of an inch is half an inch. We're going to put a tick mark on every other one. So on one, miss one, on one, miss one, little tick, miss one, little tick, miss one. Then we're going to turn it over to the other side, and if we look down we can see where the little tick mark is. So we're going to do exactly the same and make sure that we are literally halfway. So just a little tick mark on every other one at half an inch. That's not coming at, let's do it this side. Sorry, I've got that little piece there. Make sure that you've got it on so you've got your inch. So on this we're going to just do the little tick mark at the bottom at half an inch, this one in on here at half an inch. We've got to make sure that we've got it at half an inch. So the easiest way is to fold this little piece up as well. So we've then got it at exactly, because one of them is not coming at half an inch. Let me just have a look on here. Okay, so you can see on here, that's your tick mark. That's your tick mark. That's okay. That's the tick mark. And that's the tick mark. So make sure you've got your tick mark at exactly half an inch. Okay, so let me move that out of the way. That's all we need from the scoreboard. Okay, I can sit down now. So we've got that in on here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we've got this little tiny score piece on here, and we are going to take the edge of here and then just take it at a little bit of a wedge on there. So we're basically making our little piece that's going to be where we fold it in. It's like a little long tab. Okay, then we're going to cut up each one of these squares. So we're going to cut up each one of them And I like to do all of this before I do my scoring, and I'll tell you why, because it's actually easier for me to do it this way. Okay, and then we're going to do up the other side as well. So we're literally just taking up the first score line all the way up. Right the way, whoops, right the way to the end. Okay, now where we've got our tick mark, that is the part that we are going to cut away. So we're going to cut away where we've got the tick mark and fold that piece down. So what I tend to do is fold all of these pieces down, so then you're not going to come on it, and you're going to cut away where you've got your tick mark. Okay, so just very carefully cut away where we've got the tick mark and cut away that one. Okay, then we're going to do exactly the same on the other side. So if we take those out, we can see where we've got the tab parts, and so we want to take that in, that in, that in, and that in. And where those tick marks are in the center, that's what we're going to cut away. So we're going to cut those pieces off. Right the way along to the bottom. Okay, so we're now left with something that looks like this. Now, I always use our foam scoring part, because it actually helps with the scoring. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a ruler. We're going to take our scoring tool, and I take my scoring tool from the, says me having just let it roll on the floor, I take it from my scoring board, and we are going to draw a little from this corner up to where the tick mark is. We're going to draw, we're going to score, and we're going to take it on the other side from where that tick mark is up to the top and score it. And then we're going to do exactly the same all the way along. So take it up and score it. Now this one I'm doing in, this is in Cherry Cobbler, and I've done another one, Cherry Cobbler and the Tidings, Glad Tidings 6x6 paper. And on the other one, I've done it in Soft Succulent and the Whimsy and Wonder. Okay, so we've got those coming up that way. Then we're going to turn it round to the other side, and we're going to do exactly the same thing. Now I need to just be a little bit aware that I'm doing it to my center point, because I inadvertently just scored it slightly wrong, because I scored it where the little piece was. So need to have that up into the center. That's up in onto the center. So I tend to use a metal ruler because it's easier to do. And as I say, if you do it with on our foam mat or something with a little bit of a cushion, it makes it easier for scoring, and your score marks actually come out a little bit better if you do it sort of flat onto the ground or onto a table without any cushioning, it's not as easy to do. Okay, so now we've got those bits in, and then what we need to do is we need to just bend these along on their score mark very carefully. So you're bending them in, and that's why once you cut it, it's actually easier to do. So I'm just literally going along those score marks, just gently bending it in, going back on the other side, doing exactly the same thing, just bending it in. And I tend to do that before I've burnished all the other parts, because I find it just a little bit easier when it's flat to be able to do it. Okay, now we're going to burnish the other parts. So I can take my board out of the way because I don't need that. And we're going to take this up, burnish this. Just take a bone folder and take it on the other side and burnish it. So you've got all these little 1-inch squares running all the way along, which is why it's a smaller one. Now, you can do these any size you want, so you can make them larger. All you do is follow the same principle with your squares. And just, you know, I'm sure you can move it up. So if it was, you know, a 2-inch one, then you would score it in the middle at 1 inch, and you'd have lots of 2-inch squares, and you just work out, you know, make the template up a little bit bigger. Okay, so now we've got all our squares. Now what I've done is, and I've done this in a little bit of time, I've taken some of the tidings, and it's got the little berries on there, which I thought would work quite nicely on this. So we're going to put these, and we can put these in before we've actually started, so or folding it together. So I'm just going to take a little bit of wet glue and just put these in all the way along on the center, and I've cut these so they're 1-inch squares that we've scored, and I've done this 1/8 of an inch smaller. You can do it so 7/8 of an inch. These little pieces are. You can do them 1/4 of an inch if you want to, but I think that the 1/8 of an inch works better, because you don't want too much side pieces showing. So I'm just going to work my way along all through the center. So I hope you're all sort of getting ready for Christmas now. Started to get your tree up maybe, or some decorations up around the house. Planning for spending time with family and friends. I'm very lucky. I spend Christmas Day with, I have 2 lovely sons, daughter-in-laws and grandchildren, and so I spend Christmas Day with one of them and Boxing Day with the other, and we alternate it. So each year I go to one or other of them on Christmas, and then the other on Boxing Day. And it's just lovely, it really is. It's you know, all the years of me doing the cooking and things like that, I now get to go and enjoy and play lovely games and things like that with the grandchildren, while my son and daughter-in-law are frantically busy in the kitchen preparing a lovely meal. And then we sit and play games and It's a very magical time. I think if you're able to spend time with family, then it really does make a huge difference. And I know not all of us can spend time with family. Not all of us have family, but you know, those that do, it is a magical time, and I'm very blessed to have family that I can go around to, so which is lovely. So we're working our way down, just putting these on, and I think I'm going to have to cut a few more actually, but that's fine. So I'm just putting them on all of the pieces apart from obviously the ones that we've scored. So this can come in on here, one more in here, and I need to cut another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because we want one for the top and one for the bottom, and I'll show you that when we get to it. So just got that there, so that one can go in on that one. And then I've cut another strip, so I've got a little strip here, and I need 1, 2, 3, 4, and a top and a bottom, so I need 6 more. Let's hopefully see if I can get 6 out of here. I think I probably will. So let's put it in at 1/8 of an inch. So we should get 1, sticking to my finger with the glue, 2, 3, 4. Oh yes, I think I will. 5. Stuck to my finger. See, any trouble with wet glue, it does seem to. 6. There we go. Okay, so I've cut myself another 6 little pieces, and you can see that they're it's a great way of using up just tiny little scraps, so you can do them at all sorts of colours. And in fact, I always do them for the Christmas tree, because again, they are what I call tree presents. You know, when you have people around for drinks and things, and you suddenly think, oh, I need to have a little something to give them. And I always has, as I've done before, I have little treats in boxes or baskets by the door and things, but it's quite nice to have little tree presents as well. And these are just beautiful because they hang. They are one of my absolute favourite ornaments to make. I've made them for a few years now. In fact, I think a couple of years ago I did a video, but I haven't done it since. So I thought, well, as I have quite a few newer subscribers that probably haven't seen some of my older videos, although I know some of you go back and, you know, make things that I've done a few years ago and get them out and do them again. But it's quite nice as well if you've got paper that isn't directional. So you can see on this, I've not worried about where I'm putting it in because it's just all sorts of little berries. Okay, so we've now got our paper and stuff going on. What we're going to do now is the little tab here. We're going to put some wet glue on there, and always pay attention to what I call where your seam is. So this part that's nearer and right on your corners. So make sure you've got enough glue in on those bits without being too much. And then we can get this piece over on here. This is going to come across and it will just go in perfectly straight across on there. So let me just put my glue to that side. So I tend to just use a bone folder and just smooth it down gently in there, because as I say, it will then come exactly where we want it, because we've held this piece down and we've got this right the way along the side. I've just got a little bit of glue seepage coming out. Okay, so now we've got a slightly peculiar looking box, but what we need to do now is we need to take one side and we are going to fold. So this is the bit where all of these pieces will go in. We're going to take the two outside pieces and they are going to glue together straight on top of each other. So you want it as neatly as you can. So I'm just going to put some wet glue on one side like this. Okay, and then we're going to take the opposite side and that's going to come right the way across, and it will seem as if it's a bit odd at the moment because it'll be coming out at a slightly peculiar angle, but that doesn't matter. What you want to do is to make sure that this, when it's glued, is glued nice and straight, because that's the most important thing. That little square has got to glue down nice and straight with that side. You can see where it's sliding a bit. And I just hold that in for a second or two because you want it to have glued firmly. Now you can use tear and tape if you want to. My favourite's wet glue because I don't mind waiting just a few seconds. It's not a big issue. Okay, then we're going to take the other side and we need to, you can see as you want this piece to come in over the top and you want this piece to come in over the top, and as you fold it, those two, the triangles will go in and they will form that beautiful shape. So just sort of push it a little bit to make sure it's beginning to fold as you want it. And then what we need to do is we need to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to put some wet glue in on top of this one that we've already done. Excuse me. And then this one is going to come right in over the top. And again, you want to make sure that it comes as neatly as you can. So you want this piece to come right the way over the top, and you want it to go, just push it in a bit so that that corner will come in, and you want it to butt up to the other side. And again, just hold it with your finger, because what you want is for this to come and to give those little tiny pieces that come in as triangles that give you that sort of the hexagonal look of the box. Okay, so now we're going to do the other one and exactly the same thing. We're going to put a bit of wet glue on. We can put it on the inside of it, or we can put it on the top of the box. It doesn't really matter as long as it's in on there. And then this one is going to come in on top again, and make sure that you've got it lined up nice and square. Hold it down just for a second so that that will come nicely. And what you can do is to just go inside with your bone folder and just make sure that that's nice. And you can see now all those little pieces come in. Now we need to do the other side, and we're going to do exactly the same thing with the other side. This is the time that you need to put your treat inside. So you can see, if you look at that size, you can get you know, a Ferrero Rocher, you can get a handful of small little treats and things inside. It's a good size, it's a good size little treat box. So I'm not going to put any treats in on this time because I don't need to. Mine's just going to be hung on the tree. So again, you want to do your opposite corners. So we're going to take this in. What we do need to do is we want to make it hanging on the tree. So what I tend to do is, from one of these little pieces that we've cut away, which we know is the 1-inch side, I'm going to take my crocodile. Bear with me a second while I just go and grab it. So you need a hole punch of some sort. Doesn't need to be a big hole. I'm just using my crocodile. And what I'm doing is I'm going to eyeball in the centre of this little template. Like that. So I then know that each piece is going to be exactly the same. So you can then either mark it with a pen, or you can mark it with whatever you want, but just mark it on the inside. I'm just going to get a pen. Bear with me a second. Never prepare pens and things. Get my sparkly pen because it's Christmas time. So I've had this sparkly pen for ages. So what we can do is we can put this in here as a template. Make sure I've got the little hole out of it first. That's a bit better. Okay, so we're going to put this on here and we're going to mark with the pen just where the centre is. And then I'm going to go all the way round and do exactly the same thing. So we then know that we're doing our little hole exactly in the same place. So that's all I'm doing. So we've got our, I don't think that one came out very well. So we've got that in on the centre. Then I can take my crocodile, make sure I've got the little hole, and we can then just very carefully take just a little hole out of the centre. That's where I need to see where the hole is. Hopefully that's about right, yes. And then we're just going to move it round, take it through in the centre. Make sure I've taken out my hole. I couldn't see where I was, no wonder, because I couldn't see where my hole was. My lights aren't very good. I keep losing my light at this time of year. And even though I've got my big lights on and things, you still don't get particularly good light because the sun isn't out. So it's there we go. Right, I've got another hole in there. That's unfortunately where the crocodile went, so that one can go in first. Okay, so with this, what I want to do is I want to have a little piece that's going to hang up. Now you can use twine. I like to use a little bit of ribbon. So let me have a look and see what ribbon I've got that I want to use. I think I'm going to use some of this Christmas sparkly one, which is, it's cherry cobbler, and it's the metallic ribbon, which is rather pretty. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take a piece which is going to be about what I want, take it off on the other side, and I'm going to take it up from the bottom here and just pull it through the bottom like this. Okay, and I'm going to put a knot in the bottom because I want it to hang through, but I also want it to work quite tightly in on the bottom here. So if I pull it through like that, I know it's not going to go up through anymore. So then I'm going to take it through to the opposite side, because we need to do exactly the same as we did when we glued it. This can go in. Now this ribbon does fray, but we can cut it off at the other side. So just trying to get it through before it's frayed too much. Hopefully it'll be just about all right. Just tried to lick the side to make it to go together, and as I say, unfortunately this ribbon does fray quite a bit, but it doesn't really matter that much. Okay, so we can now take this piece up on here, and what I want to do, I've got a bit of ribbon stuck on my tongue, so I'm going to put a little bit of glue around on here, just on the sides, because then it will just help to stick it together. So this is going to come across. I'm going to pull this up tight. Pull it up tight, and then that's going to go, make sure that I've got it in square on this piece again, because you want to make sure when you're gluing it, it's square. Otherwise, it'll just take the shape out of it. You won't get the right shape. Okay, so now we're going to do the other two sides. These are the pieces that are going to come in. So we can have this one that can go up in on here. And again, this ribbon is not going to be the easiest to get through, but as long as I get a little bit through, with a bit of luck, I can pull it. Say some of the ribbon is better. This metallic ribbon in particular does fray all over the place, but it does look very pretty. So it's one of those things, it's worth the mishap with it to just have it hanging up. So we're going to pull this one in, and again, I'm just going to just put a little bit of wet glue in just along on the edge here, just so it helps it to stick down. And we can pull this one up and make sure it goes in where we want it, right on here, nice and square. Just hold it in till it's dried, and then we can put our last one. Now, if you've got little tiny treats, you can, you don't have to stick that one in, and you can have this coming up through the top. So sometimes I just put little tiny sweets in there, which I will do on this one, and you then don't need to glue it up. And sometimes I just have them as decorations, because I think they make pretty decorations, and you don't need to actually put something inside if you don't want to. So let me just take that up in on here. And put that one in. And you then have, if I turn it round, hopefully you can see, you've got this lovely ornament with all of these little pieces, and you know, it just hangs beautifully on the tree. It's a complete little ball. Now, what we need to do as well is, if you can see, on the bottom and on the top, we need to put our last two little squares of patterned paper that we cut out. So this one has to go in on the bottom. I'm just going to take a little bit of wet glue in on here. So that one can go in on there. That just finishes that one off. And then this one, we need to do exactly the same on this. So we know that we've got our little square, And because it's 1/8 of an inch smaller, what I tend to do is to just make sure that I can take my crocodile and just put it through in on here when I can see the little centerpiece. Just cut it down, and then we've got the piece that can go straight in on here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed it through first. So with this very frayed bit of ribbon, but hopefully I can get some of it through like that. So I can take that all the way down through onto the ribbon, and then I'm just going to put a little bit of wet glue in round on here. And then we know that as we pull this in, we can then just pop it down onto the bottom, onto there. Let's just make sure that I've pulled it through tight, which I have, and then that little square can go, and sure that I've got it straight, which I should have. So make sure we've got it on our 1/8 of an inch like that. And that gives you all your little squares have all got it, and it gives you a beautiful hanging ornament. So I'm going to trim this off now like that, and then, as I say, you can do a little tie on there, and you've got a rather pretty little ornament to hang on the tree. But also it gives you something that you can fill with little treats as well. So I hope you enjoyed that. As always, please stay safe and well. Please be kind, and look forward to seeing you very soon. Bye-bye.